gentlemen back in the room. Okay. Matthew, you calling the roll? All right, Steve, call the roll.
Ms. Atkinson?
Here.
Mr. Ferguson?
Here.
Dr. Fitz?
Here.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Mr. Lockwood?
Here.
Ms. Price?
Here.
Chair Davenport?
Here. Unless there's addition, changes, or corrections to last month's minutes, a motion to accept, please.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to Mr. Lockwood, second by Ms. Atkinson.
Mr. Lockwood?
Yes.
Ms. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Dr. Fitz?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Chair Davenport?
Yes. Before we begin our hearing tonight, our counselor, Mr. Hoy Hodges, will tell you what you have to do in order to get your request approved. Mr. Hodges?
Mr. Chairman, on all of these, or both these applications, are we down to 3 or 2?
They're not sure.
Oh, the Elkins here?
Anyway,
Okay.
whether it be 2 or 3,
All right.
I would ask that the staff reports, along with all exhibits, be made a part of the record. I'd ask that the comprehensive plan be made part of the record, along with all the elements that are in effect tonight. I guess we need to swear in Rachel Hurt, Amy Scott, Jenny Willoughby, and recognize their qualifications as zoning administrators, and that their testimony be taken as expert testimony tonight.
Do you also want to tell the truth, ladies?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, however many are on the agenda tonight, they're all conditional use permit applications. And there's certain findings that the board must make, and those are set forth in section 3.9.5 of the zoning ordinance. The board must find that the use is not detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare in the zone in which it is proposed. The use will not contribute toward an overburdening of municipal services. The use will not constitute a nuisance, and that it adequately addresses the review criteria in section 3.9.4, that it is otherwise in compliance with the zoning ordinance, which would include specific use standards that do apply to these applications tonight. And I mentioned the review criteria in section 3.9.4, and there's one item, and that's compatibility. And that particular section of zoning ordinance says that the applicant must adequately address the review criteria as it applies to this application, again, one of which is compatibility. So you need to keep that in mind with presentation of your application. You need a majority vote of those present tonight. Pass vote has no force or effect. If you're dissatisfied with the results, you have 30 days to file an appeal, and that would be directly to the Warren Circuit Court. I believe that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. If you notice on our agenda up there, the very first item on the agenda has been postponed. If you're here for the Middlebrook Court request, postponed, it won't be here. So we'll go with our next one. Ashley and Austin Valentine have filed an application requesting a conditional use permit to operate a short-term rental in an existing accessory apartment on the property located at 1238 Highland Church Road. This property is zoned AG agricultural. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a pre-application meeting for the property over on Highland Church Road back in March. Here's an existing zoning of the property is ag. Current land use is agriculture. And then here are some images just for context. And then an aerial, there is their site plan for you all, which is also available in the packet. And so the applicants are requesting a conditional use permit to operate a short-term rental in an existing accessory apartment on the property. The zoning ordinance reference, about midway down the page in Article 5, Section 5.1 of the use table, a conditional use permit is required to operate a short-term rental on property zoned agriculture. The specific use standards are there for your all's reference on the bottom of page 1, and then we'll look over to page 2 at their conditions that they've supplied. Number 1 is a maximum of 2 rooms for rent. Number 2, guests are permitted to park a maximum of 2 vehicles. Number 3, the owner will be present on the property during times of occupancy. Number 4, quiet time will be from 8 PM to 8 AM. Number 5, there will be no signage on the property. And then number 6, if the property is ever sold or the applicant ceases the use, the CUP will be null and void. And so those conditional use permit findings are there below. And looking back to page 1, with some points to consider, we do not have any pending public hearing and any testimony here tonight. And that's all that I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions for you all.
Very good. Any questions of the staff from the board? Any questions of the staff? Thank you.
Thank
Are
you.
the applicants here? Would one of you step up, please? We'll need to swear you in, maybe just ask a couple of quick questions. Your full name and address, please?
It's Ashley Valentine, 1238 Highland Church Road, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
And you swear to tell the truth, ma'am?
Yes,
Just a couple of questions. And you are going to live in the house that's
yes,
existing there, so you'll be at the property. Do you think this is fairly compatible with that area there?
Yes.
Putting in a business there? Okay. And you kind of give us a little reason why you think it'll work out okay?
We don't have anybody around to disturb. We're a very quiet family.
I
I
don't
work,
think you have to worry about
I
the
don't-
quiet.
no, I work from home, so I'm on the property all the time. And we feel like that we can support whatever needs that would come up.
Well, a lot of properties like this one that are kind of somewhat remote.
Yep.
There's a concern sometimes of somebody renting it and having a big, huge party, but you living there, I think that eliminates that.
Yeah, we're not party folks.
All right.
Hence the 8 PM to 8 AM rule.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board of the applicant? Any board questions? Thank you, ma'am. Any opposition to this request? Any opposition? We'll try to get it done so y'all get out here before it rains. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit docket number 2025-C-15 for a short-term rental with the conditions as presented in the staff report. Testimony presented in the public hearing has shown that the use is not detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of the zone in which it's proposed. Use will not contribute to an overburdening of municipal services. Use will not result in increased traffic congestion, additional parking problems, substantial increase in population density, environmental nuisance, or environmental problems or constitute nuisance, and that it otherwise meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance, and it seems quite compatible with the location that it's in.
Proper motion.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Fitz, second by Ms. Atkinson.
Dr. Fitz?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Lockwood?
Yes.
Ms. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Chair Davenport?
Yes, your request has been approved. Thank you all very much, and good luck to you. Have a good evening. All right, our next request tonight, Goldenrod RE Holdings LLC, care of Kerry McConnell and Nicole Burnett, have filed an application requesting a conditional use permit to operate a short-term rental on the property located at 225 West 14th Avenue. Now, this property is zoned RM4, multifamily residential. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a pre-application meeting on February 12th for the property that you mentioned. Here is an aerial for reference. The current zoning is RM4. The current land use is single-family residential. And we have a couple of photos there. And there is the site plan that the applicants have supplied. And again, they are requesting a CUP to operate a short-term rental. The zoning ordinance reference, Article 5, Section 5.1, a conditional use permit is required to operate a short-term rental on property zoned RM4. Bottom of page 1 are the specific use standards for short-term rentals. Looking over at page 2 for the supplied conditions, number 1, maximum of 3 rooms for rent. Number 2, a maximum of 3 guest vehicles in the designated parking area. Number 3, quiet hours will be from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Number 4, there will be no signage on the property. Number 5, if the property is ever sold or the applicant ceases the use, the CUP will be null and void. And if this application is approved, staff suggests the following condition. The applicant shall obtain approval of a site work permit and pave the 3 parking spaces shown on the attached site plan prior to the issuance of a short-term rental permit. It's currently gravel there, and so they'll need to pave that. So that's the purpose of that condition. Under that is the conditional use permit findings for your reference. Looking back at page 1, under the points to consider, the board should consider the impact on permanent workforce housing availability in this part of the city if the existing single-family residence is converted into a short-term rental. And the board should consider if the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area, including the existing single-family residential uses located adjacent to the property and in the general vicinity. That's all we have for a staff report. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions from the board of the staff? Any questions of the staff from the board? Thank you, ma'am. Are the applicants here? Would one of you all come up so we can swear you in, please?
I thought about sending her up, but
We don't care. Your full name and address, please?
it's Carrie Ellen McConnell. My address is 736 McIntyre Street, Bowling Green, Kentucky, 42101.
And you swear to tell the truth, ma'am?
Yes.
How do you feel this business is compatible with that neighborhood there?
I do think it is very compatible. I feel like we've actually added some stability to that neighborhood. It is across the tracks a little bit, having that as a short-term rental, we're hoping to have a lot of people and families for Western and do more midterm rentals for people that are doing internships at Western. We get a lot of people requesting to stay for tourism, so it's a great location. I feel like it is bringing more stability to that area.
Do you agree to pave the parking area back there?
We would agree to that if we were permitted that.
Okay.
We haven't gotten 2 quotes, and they've ranged anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000. So, of course, we didn't want to move forward with that
Sure.
Without the approval
That would
and
probably-
with the weather. It's been a
That'll
little
probably be a
while.
condition that we'll put up on that. You've got apartments across the street from you, basically, don't you?
Yeah, there's multiple multifamily residentials going up, brand new constructions, and then there are a lot of other rental properties in that area as well.
I think, just for the record, last year we approved 1 or 2 on the 100 block of West 14th, didn't we? That's up across from those apartments on Clay Street.
We did,
I think-
across from the Hummingbird Apartments.
Yeah, I think that's what it's, yeah.
They were evidently, they have since sold those properties. I mean, there was a non-wood clause in there, so that seems to be.
Okay, but we did approve it at the beginning, yeah. Does 14th run straight through now to, what's it, Durbin Street? Or
So
what?
if you go, so actually it's a dead end.
Oh, is it still a dead end? Okay.
So that where that property is located, there is like a cul-de-sac, because the school is right behind it. And then there is all of our parking is behind in that gravel parking lot, and that's the one way that goes around and pulls back around to the,
You may not, I'm sure you don't remember this, but a long time ago, about 3 houses from your house, there used to be a grocery store there called Walmart's Grocery Store. So there used to be a business located on that street.
I would say it was before her time.
I'd say it probably was.
my grandfather, what was it called before that?
It was called Womack's, W-O-M-A-C, and it finally turned it back into a house, but it was a little grocery store.
Because I feel like my grandfather ran a grocery store downtown, maybe McConnell and Raymer or something like
Yeah,
that. But
yeah.
that was a long before
Could
my
be.
time too.
All right. Are there any other questions from the board of the applicant, please? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any opposition to this request? Motion, please.
I make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit docket number 2025-C-16 for a short-term rental with the conditions as presented in the staff report, plus one additional condition that there should obtain approval of a site work permit and pave the 3 parking spaces as shown in the attached site plan prior to the issuance of a short-term rental permit. Testimony presented in this public hearing has shown that the use is not detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare in the zone in which is proposed. Use will not contribute to an overburdening of municipal services. I'm so sorry. The use will not result in increased traffic congestion, additional parking problems, substantial increase in population density, environmental problems, or constitute nuisance, and that the use otherwise meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance, and that it is compatible with the neighborhood.
This is proper motion.
Second.
Motion, Dr. Fitz, second by Ms. Atkinson.
Dr. Fitz?
Yes.
Mr. Howell? Yes. Mr. Lockwood?
Yes.
Ms. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Chair Davenport?
Yes, your request's been approved, ma'am. Thank you and good luck to you. All right, our next request, we'll go ahead and read it. Brian Elkins has filed an application requesting a conditional use permit to operate a short-term rental on the property located at 1111 Luther Lawrence Road. This property is zoned AG agricultural. Are the Elkins here? No Elkins here?
They're not here.
Well, then we will not take any action on that request tonight, so. All right, any old business? New business?
I'd like to make a comment. I thank y'all for not putting the tape on these things anymore. We can get in them now easy.
Yes, it's really a great improvement.
Well, all the knives you got, you don't have one sharp enough to cut that thing open?
I don't ever
I
have
have
one hand.
I have a suggestion as well, and not related to the tape on the envelope. On these, each room on some of the standards, specific use standards, each room to be rented shall be designated to have no more than 2 people. That implies that people are going to rent per room. Generally, we are approving people to occupy the entire space. Would it be better served to put, when people are going to allow you to rent their property, a maximum number of people that can stay? In other words, it would be based on the number of bedrooms, so 6 or 8 or how many ever people. But this is a little concern, and at one point on one of these cases we approved, one of the board members, I don't remember whom, said, you're not going to allow per room, correct? And that was the point. Or are we approving, when it says each room to be rented shall be designed and intended to accommodate no more than 2 persons, are we implying we're going to approve people to individually rent rooms?
That's a good idea.
Well, I guess if there's not a condition placed on the application, like the one evening we were here, I think there was a condition that said that the room, or the property, only the entire home shall be rented, or offered for rent, and it shall not be rented by the room. But for others that have been approved, if there's not a condition restricting
where I'm
that,
headed.
then it
That's
wouldn't be
where I'm headed.
prohibited. But I think when those standards were written in the ordinance, it was intended to mean that if you had a 3-bedroom home for rent, that you could only have 1 bed per room. So you couldn't stack like double bunk beds that were 3 high to where you're sleeping 12 people in 1 bedroom.
But where I'm concerned is when we're approving them like this, I would feel differently if I really thought individually people were going to allow to individually rent rooms with nobody there, no supervision, 3 different cars, 3 different groups of people, X amount of people per bedroom. And that's what this implies we're approving. And I think that's a different animal than when somebody, I think most individuals that are applying are going to rent the whole space.
Right. But if there's not a condition that limits it to that, then there's still the opportunity that they could rent it by the room.
And that concerns me.
So if that's a concern, then that's a condition we
That's where
probably
I'm
need to.
headed.
Yeah.
It would concern me when we're approving these if people are could have the opportunity not to control the fact that it's multiple. It could be a fraternity, it could be 2 guys from New York and 2 guys from someplace. That would concern me. That's a whole different animal than somebody renting the entire property, having X amount of people. So anyway, I would like to look at that for future reference. Find out if you guys are willing, find out from the applicant, in fact, if their expectation is to rent the entire property to 1 entity, 1 family, or,
I think that's a good idea.
That was the question Mr. Burton had last week of the,
That's it. Exactly.
Dwight
That's
Burton
where
had
it
that.
came up, I knew.
Remember, he asked that question of Mr. Sweet, the applicant, if they was going to rent those rooms individually or to a family. So, and so, I mean, the court's not, apparently he noticed it too, and that's why he came. That's not why he came, but that was one of the questions he had, whether it was going to be individual rooms or as a unit, so. You understand what she's saying?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
But here's some of our problem with that. I don't know how we define all this, but let's say we've got, 2 or 3 family members, not in the same household, who rent the property. Can we somehow
Well, the way the listing, like online, it would only be available to rent the entire home.
Right.
So even if it's like my husband and I, and then my brother and sister-in-law,
That's
and
fine.
like,
Yeah.
we're
That
still
would be
renting
good.
it together, even if,
that'd be really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Looks like
That's a
Mr.
good
Peterson's
plan.
going to make a comment.
I'll just say in general, it's really hard when you start splitting hairs this way. And I mean, we'll definitely look at it. We'll look at it the way it's written and obviously take any suggestions or advice. I'd almost be in favor just to get rid of that altogether, because most of the time, people are, one group of people, whether it's a family group or a fraternity, are renting an entire house. And the fraternities, if we're
Oh,
gonna
I
pick,
know.
if we want to pick on them, it's just gonna be one person to rent it, and then they're all gonna show up and do whatever they're gonna do anyway. And it's, you police those things after the fact, not presume. It's hard to presume how people might rent. The only other thought that popped in my head is we have a lot of, especially in the medical field, like traveling nurses or even residents at the UK School of Medicine, those types of things. Some of them might be good to
Get
rent
together.
each individual room also. So there's a couple
Totally
different scenarios.
understand that. I
So-
guess, Ben, what brought this to mind is in Lexington, you all know we have an Airbnb in Lexington. There is a maximum number of people established. It doesn't talk about per room, but you have to commit to a cap of the number of people based on the bedrooms. Obviously, you don't
Yeah.
say, I want
Yeah.
15 people as your maximum. They won't allow more
Yeah.
than 2 people per bedroom, but nevertheless, or if you have a pull-out, but you
Yeah.
have to establish a maximum number allowing to rent.
Yeah, so
Well-
the way I understand ours written, and you can correct me, is we have, if you have 3 bedrooms, you can have 6 people and that's it.
That's it.
And a lot of applicants, we get the condition there'll be a maximum of 2 rooms for rent, implying no more than 4 people.
Right.
So-
And that's fine. I'm just saying this sort of language kind of just suggests that you could have a maximum of, you could individually rent rooms.
So
That's
yeah,
my only concern.
yeah, and so the nature of the conditional use permit too is that this board can ask that question of each applicant, and if you all have concerns of too many people for a particular neighborhood or for a particular structure, then you all can ask them
Okay.
to set that as well and let that
Or
factor into your
identify.
decision. Yeah.
Find out if they're committing to having one group. I don't care if, my sister rents it and my family comes together. I get that.
Yeah.
Just that there
Yeah.
is one unit of people renting the entire property. That's what I meant.
But there may be situations where they don't want that as well. So that's
Right,
where the
right.
conditional use
Totally
position
understand.
comes in.
And when you're
If we
talking-
hard code it in the zoning ordinance, then there's no option.
Understand.
Yeah.
And there could be circumstances, but maybe going forward, if you guys could help us just identify that
Part
on
of
the
the
front end.
application information.
Just
We
so
can do
that we know, again, what
Great.
what the commitment is from the property
Yeah,
owner.
great comment. We
You
can-
made a good point about the traveling nurses. A lot of those people travel together and they'll rent
Yeah.
a place
I've got
together,
people-
so.
I've got people at the horse park that are buddies. It's really 2 different
Yeah,
families.
sure.
Right.
But, they're exhibitors and they're friends, so they rent the property, but they in theory are individual.
Right.
Yeah.
And
not a family.
we have had situations, I think, in the past where somebody actually wanted to rent 3 rooms, say had 3 rooms, and actually what they had was 2 bedrooms in the living room. So I think we should sort of, rein that, that's come up before.
Yeah, and I think that's where we can, well, how many bedrooms is it? Well, then,
How many?
by our ordinance, we would assume that's 4 people, so we're gonna ask you to limit that to 4 people.
And we did limit it. We did limit it, but they were asking for
Yeah,
spaces for 3 people, 3 groups, and
Just-
we reduced it.
We have credited a living room that has like a sleeper sofa as a room.
Yeah,
So
but-
in that case, if it was a 2-bedroom plus a living room with sleeper sofa, that's 6 people.
Well, and then if you make that 3 cars, because you've got 3 bedrooms,
Right.
now
But to Ben's
now we have
point-
got 3, for a 2-bedroom house, we now have 6, we have 6 people, and we have 3 cars.
And to Ben's
Is that
point,
right?
on paper it is, but to Ben's point, if you feel that based on the area and the available parking and all the different factors, you can
We need
ask
to
that
talk
they
about
further restrict
maximum
that.
number of people probably.
yeah. So if it was let's say a 2-bedroom house, and maybe, but the house was still 1,500 square feet, that's possible, not common, but it's possible. That's still quite a bit of space. And then if that is then on 10 acres or isolated, kind of like the one we had tonight, where they had enough for 100 parking spaces.
Right.
Then maybe that's okay.
So
So do we
basically-
want to try to create this box in our zoning ordinance before we know all the details on each individual application?
I may be mistaken, I think in the past, Dr. Fitz has done a pretty good job of making sure that there was only people in the bedrooms. I think you've done a
You
good
got
job
it.
with
Well,
that.
like, for example, number 2 that was approved tonight here on Highland Church Road, that was just a 1-bedroom apartment
Oh,
in here,
yeah.
and they are using the living space.
Except it was a barn.
But
They could
yes,
have,
yes, but they were gonna use a living space with a fold-out couch or an air mattress
Oh,
as a second bedroom.
Well, like you just said, that location, that area,
So I think then, until the staff does make changes, that if we're concerned, then, that's additional questions to ask, and we can impose conditions on a case-by-case basis. If you don't think the house can support any more than 6
Right.
people, then
I
that's a
think
condition.
it was good that we brought the issues up, but I think we probably ought to still make it on an individual basis.
yeah. I wasn't suggesting to change the ordinance. I just think we need to identify that.
if I'm reading the staff correctly, they'd rather us ask the question, them have to try to rewrite the ordinance.
No, that's not
And I don't
necessarily.
blame you,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily that, but we
Yeah.
can certainly, when we're talking to applicants, we can
Put it
get
in
the
there.
living arrangement, proposed living arrangement to have as information in the staff report
Recommend
as
it to
well.
them. Tell them,
Yeah.
okay,
In
good deal.
today's world, it's hard to say 2 people in a bedroom because most of them have a child. So you're gonna have 3 people in that bedroom, whether,
2 adults,
but 2 adults and a child.
but you can't measure all the stuff.
Oh, I know.
We cannot define all that.
I know.
You have 3 teenage boys who are 16, 17, and 18, and they're 6 feet 4 inches tall.
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute, Doc, you're shorting some of them are over 7 feet.
Well, I was just making an analogy, sort of.
All right. We've taken this short meeting and made it longer than
I'm
we supposed
sorry.
to have.
I apologize.
That's all right. I'm just kidding. It was a good discussion. It was a good discussion.
It just sort of re-emphasizes that we need to take an individual, take it case by case.
Any other new business? All right, thank y'all. We're adjourned. Y'all did a good job. Thank you.